think we can start off first with Don't Cry Butterfly. I think this section is going to be hopefully not so long. There's only 5 films.
Yep.
Yeah. So Don't Cry Butterfly.
So I was just saying somebody have to describe the story because I can't remember what's the I know that there's a wife getting cheated by. Can't display the thoughts coherently for the premise.
Yeah. So it's a Vietnamese film directed by I'm gonna mess up her name, Dong Du Lin and Lin. Yeah. And I think it's produced by Singaporean producer Sen.
Yep.
So I mean I really like this film. I think it's one of my favorite films from this festival. And I think that the story is quite simple. It's about this lonely housewife, like middle-aged housewife, and she goes through some kind of middle-age crisis. And I think this film is really talking about the loneliness that middle-aged women experience in, I think not just in Vietnam, but also in Thailand, where the men are often more than not unfaithful to their wife. And as a result, these women feel like they're in a limbo where they can't really divorce the husband because what's the point? They're already so old. And at the same time, they also don't feel intimate with their husband anymore. So they're in this like emotional and sexual like limbo. I mean, this film is just so well written because in screenplay writing, we always say that everything that the character does or is involved with has to like push the theme, right? And I think this film does it really well because the housewife, she works as a wedding planner, and every day she meets her clients who are this happy couple, on the cusp of a new stage in life, whereas she is at the latter stage of that journey, where the honeymoon phase is over. They have kids, and now it's in the, you might call it like the decaying stage of a husband-wife relationship. Yeah, and she has a young, spunky daughter who also has a mind of her own, and she aspires to go overseas to pursue her. What was it she wants to pursue? Was it fashion or music? I can't remember.
I think it was art.
Fashion, right?
Yeah.
Art, yeah. Yeah, painting. I think it's painting. Yeah. And this young lady has a boyfriend who does music.
Platonic friend, is it? Yeah,
I think they have a crush. I think the guy has a crush on her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's about that. What else can I say? There are some horror-esque magic realist elements in the film.
Dripping water from the ceiling.
Yeah.
Monsters.
Yeah, I think that part wasn't explained much, but I kind of like it. Yeah. John, what do you think about this film?
I like the film. I thought it was quite enjoyable. I like the slightly absurdist touches as well, like Vietnam in the World Cup final. The commentator commenting her love life in prison. There's no reason for those flourishes whatsoever. It just kind of came out of nowhere, but it happens to be up my alley. So I quite like those things as well. Shout out to Eugene Xia, who colored the film. Our pal Eugene Xia, who is one of our guests in our episodes here as well. For me, I think the only thing that I didn't, I found it kind of became a bit dry for a while is because I think the film would take place in the home for a very long time. A lot of the film is in the home. So and the visual grammar for a while after a while, it's like it's the ceiling and then it's the home and the ceiling, the home, and then the friend opposite. That kind of became a bit repetitive for me.
Right.
So I would say that's one of my only small little gripes.
Right.
With the film. Yeah, I kind of wish that and the ending wrap up, though I enjoyed dream sequence at the end, yeah, it does feel a little bit convenient when it kind of wraps up the whole narrative there.
Ivan,
So
what do you think?
I agree with you in that, yeah, like what I was trying to say is very clear. And that is perhaps where I think, and maybe it's a taste thing, yeah, but I always feel like whatever, of course, you want the audience to feel what you're trying to say, but for my own taste, I like it to be a bit hidden. Yeah. I like it to be a bit hidden so that I'm given a chance to discover it and find it for myself. But here it's like actually very early on you kind of know what she's trying to say,
right.
and that doesn't quite shift by the end of the film.
So
So that for me is my own sensing of it. I mean, it's well made, and the second, I want to say second half, but when the so-called magical realist stuff happens, it's really outrageous and interesting. But still, it's the same thing. Yeah, it's about
You don't feel the mystery, a sense of mystery that you are hoping that it can surprise and that lah. Yeah.
Maybe. I'm also not. I cannot really put my yeah. But at the same time, like Lin is not like I don't think that's something she is trying to do also,
Sure.
which is why it could just be a tasting. Yeah.
Actually, when you say you want things to be hidden, like what exactly do you want to be hidden? Like character motivation or some other thing?
No. I mean, I don't want to say this for every film, but I guess I think most so-called like most filmmakers, when they are writing their script, you come to a point where I think most diligent filmmakers, and I think everyone we discussed tonight are definitely diligent filmmakers. You will come to a point where you're asking yourself, like, actually, what am I trying to say or do, or what is this really about, right? And maybe you don't know about it from the start, but I feel like even when you know it, I feel for my own taste, I prefer things to be a bit more indirect. I prefer things to be, I prefer to have the opportunity to discover what it is you're trying to say, especially if the thing you're trying to say is crude or very like in your face, yeah. Then I think all the more you need to find a way for us to discover it. I guess that's kind of where and for me actually the most interesting films are those that like I have a sense as to what the filmmaker is trying to do, but I'm still trying to grasp it. I think those are the very those are the films that leave a huge impression on me. Yeah, because for me, I'm not so interested in films that like when you watch it in the cinema, of course you have to be engaged, of course you have to be invested, but I'm not so interested in those films that like they impress you a lot. And then the minute you walk out, you go to the toilet, you forget already. Yeah, I'm not so interested in those kind of films, and of course I'm speaking from a personal point of view, and certainly those are not the kind of films I want to make. Yeah, I think the kind of films I want to make, and maybe John is onto something about them, maybe they're a bit more mysterious. Of course, I am clear about what I want to say, but I think that I want my films to stay with the audience. I want them to not be able to forget it,
Yeah.
and keep thinking about it, even when they shower, even when they're having their meals. Yeah, that's the kind of film I want to make. And this might be a bit off tangent. And to be absolutely frank, I have never written a film where I know what I want to say. I always don't. I don't know. Yeah.
Don't
I write.
worry, it's a feeling we all are the same.
I start to write a film. I start to make a film because I want to make a film. Yeah. Because I want to bring to life some images that I have in my head, and it's as straightforward as that. it's only much later on that I have,
Yep.
usually it comes as an epiphany, like actually this is what
Yep.
this film is about.
Yeah.
But that's my process, because I personally am not for the, or maybe it just doesn't work for me where I know what I want to say, and then I kind of like design a script or I write a story to prove my point. It's just not how I work. I've tried it, it just doesn't work for me. It's like at some point I just lose motivation, or I feel that the film becomes somewhat, in my experience, does it become too preachy? Is it too obvious? Why don't I write an essay?
But I mean, we're on a really interesting topic because because isn't it important to know what you want to say? Because every choice that you make with regards to mise-en-scène ultimately ties back to what you want to say and the theme that you're trying to express. Like just to play devil's advocate, right? If you don't know what you want to say and the themes that you want to bring across, how do you decide on like the production design? How do you decide on all the little elements within the frame? How should it be? If you don't know all that, like how do you decide on, let's say, visual motif if you don't know the themes of the film?
I don't work like that. That's the short answer I can give you. I guess if I were to elaborate, I'm not guided by what I want to say, because what compels me to sit there and write a script is actually something I usually keep very private and secret. It's not the same as the theme or the thing I'm trying to. What pushes me and compels me to do a piece of work is something that is like a secret to me, which is why Pedro Costa says this wonderful thing, which I'm completely in agreement with, which is that you should never pitch your film. And the way I read it is that you should never tell people what really compelled you to make this film. Of course you can tell stories about why you want to make this film. Right, but I always keep the real private reason. It's very private to me. It's so private that I think to utter it is just, it would I might as well just show you a naked picture of myself. It's very private. So that is something that compels me and makes me want, and keeps and perhaps pushes me into a certain hate space or fictional space, and that's what guides my decisions. Then later, and of course that is not good. I mean, like, who cares, right? At some point, right? And then much later on, once I'm in this process enough, then I usually, if I or in the process of working, usually I get a glimpse. Actually, this is about this, or this story is about that, and then it's about sharpening. Then it has to be something that I'm like, okay, I feel like it is not that it sits well with me. Usually it doesn't sit well with me. It's like, fuck, actually maybe this is what it's really about. Then maybe I would relook at everything and maybe shape it a bit more. Because ultimately I feel that what audiences get from the film is not something I can control, and I don't think that I should attempt to control what audience conclude or feel from my film. It's not something that I think I'm interested to control, even though the desire is, it's very tempting. So that's kind of like, I guess it's a very long answer.
I mean, this was a great tangent that we went on.
Yeah.
But going back to Don't Cry Butterfly. Wow, how should we pick up from where we left? Yeah, but I don't know why, but I feel like I haven't done justice in describing like
Yeah.
why I like this film a lot. I think at the end of the day, right, it's probably because I have met quite a few like Vietnamese and Thai. I mean, not really middle age, but 30s.
Yep.
And a lot of them go through what the main character in this film goes through.
Yeah.
So I think Lin has really put her pulse on this very common experience experienced by many, like I would say, not Southeast Asian, but like at least in my own knowledge, like Thai and Vietnamese, especially. I mean, why these two countries? Like, it's also because there are a lot of foreigners especially in Thailand, and these foreigners, a lot of them also marry like Thai women. Also happens in Vietnam, and for a lot of reasons, like there is like communication breakdown or infidelity, and a lot of these women end up divorced and having to single-handedly raise a kid or two kids. Yeah. So there are a lot of single parents in Thailand, for example. So yeah, I really feel for this film.
I
Yeah.
actually feel like it's a very good thing if you cannot describe a film. Yeah, then the film is truly cinematic, right? Like if you can if we can articulate and describe exactly what the film gave you, right? Then yeah, maybe it's not so cinematic. So I think it's a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah. That's true.
Wow. I think there are two camps. I think what you just described, right? If you talk about Terrence Malick, Andrei Tarkovsky,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
But then you have the more like even Edward Young's films, you can describe very clearly what it's about, right?
Because he's not that kind of filmmaker.
But to be honest, right, I watched Goodfellas 20 times, right? I still can't describe what it gives me that I love. All I know is it's damn entertaining. Yeah, but I can't articulate it very, very well to you. I can describe every single shot to you because of how much I watch it. But I can't articulate in a very fluent way, like why is it about, like in a complex way that I can tell you what shot triggers me and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I can tell you which crane shot hits you, what editing point is like, wow, this is spot on. Yeah. But I can't go into the descriptions in a written way.
But even mysterious films like Tarkovsky, right, are very designed. Like if you've seen the behind the scenes of the way Tarkovsky makes his films, they are super
for sure
meticulously designed. He knows exactly the kind of feelings that he wants to evoke.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, next film, also a Vietnamese, not Vietnamese film, but a Singaporean film.
City of Small Blessings.
You watch it.
Yeah, both of us watch it on the last.
Would it be? Is it getting a theatrical release of sorts?
I hope so because
you think more people should watch it, huh?
Yeah, honestly, and I think quite a lot of people will disagree with me, but I really, really love this film.
Yeah, I know you have high praises.
Yeah, and how to say
can you don't spoil the film?
I think we can don't spoil the film. Yeah, I do think it's wonderful. Yeah.
Okay.
Just tell why you like it lah.
I mean, the novel is out. I mean, everyone knows the story, right, of this novel.
I've read the synopsis, so I roughly know. It's about it's about a couple or a family trying to save their house from being...
Yeah, at least in Chen Xi's film, it's about not the couple or the family, but about this middle-aged man in particular has become very attached to this rented house that he's been living in for the past few years. And because of like urban redevelopment plans, I think the government or LTA or URA plans to build like an MRT, which like cuts into where his property lies. So his property has been slated for like demolition to make way for MRT. And it's he attempts to go on this journey to try to prevent that from happening. Yeah.
So yeah, maybe you can start off telling us what are the things you like about it.
I think as I was watching it halfway, right, I just realized like this film has managed to touch on this like emotional pulse of this anxiety. Is it correct word? But this feeling that I think a lot of Singaporeans have, where the things that you treasure are so fragile and so at any moment, right, it might just dissolve into sand.
Yep.
And you feel so powerless because you can't control it. You know, at least this guy, because he in terms of social economic status, he's like very high up there. Like he's a former principal of this very prestigious school. So he has the access to at least try to meet MPs and even the Prime Minister to make his case. But for a lot of everyday common Singaporeans, the most they can do is complain to their MP and maybe rant on Facebook. Yeah, they don't have the privilege and the access to, you know, have a one-on-one with the MP or the PM. And but even then, the performance of Victor Benjeri, who plays this middle-aged man, I think the kind of stress and anxiety that he portrays, I feel like is representative of the anxiety for a lot of Singaporeans who at one point in time had their favorite building or favorite haunt demolished. Yeah. I think it was at that moment when I was like, wow, this film has touched this very raw core of what you might call like Singaporean soul. You know? Like it's like a trauma that all of us, however big or small, have gone through. Yeah, and I think all that was on his face. I think his face was what like really made me like connect with the film. Yeah, and I think a lot of other things, right? It's a very simple film, but simple like does not mean easy, right? Like the film is just a lot of people talking, and really just a lot of talking, and there are no cinematic flourishes. It's, I mean, I use the word Bergman-esque to talk about this film, right? It is really like a small little chamber drama made by Ingmar Bergman. But the thing is, there's a lot of psychological depth behind the performance and behind the script. I mean, John said, I remember you said you didn't like the cinematography, right? But I mean, there's nothing special about the cinematography. Like it isn't trying to be anything more than just composing the scene well, putting the camera in the right place, and making sure the editing has some rhythm. Otherwise, this is really like a performance-driven film. Yeah, and I think after sitting through so many Southeast Asian films where there is no drama, no dramatic arc, films where people barely talk to each other, no emotion, and to go and watch Chen Xi's film where when people are angry, they're really angry, and they have arguments, and these arguments are like well written and well performed. It's such a breath of fresh air. Yeah, and in the context of Southeast Asia, right, this is a risk, I think. But if you compare it to American films, right, I mean, it's normal. Like I think the great thing about American films is they know how to do drama, right? I think John and I were talking about this. American films are so engaging because they know what is character-driven drama, and they have great written dialogue, and that's missing in a lot of Singaporean films. But I think Chen Xi's film attempt to have all that, have, you know, when people argue, they really argue. They don't sit quietly and have like emotionless expression just looking at each other. But yeah.
I thought it was the story is very clear. First of all, there's nothing about the film you will struggle to understand, right? In a sense, it follows the character's journey very, very clearly from the start to the end. I do think that the setup takes its time little bit too much. Especially a lot of the stuff where he's giving the speech in the school, and then he sees the photo, and he sees them play football. That's like a good 10 minutes.
Yeah.
He gives a speech. You see him rehearse for the speech. You see him go into a room, go out the room, and then you see him drive to the school. Yeah. So there's like, wow, it's like 15 minutes is just there. And then before it finally reaches the inciting incident where, they are going to be evicted. Where the film really got going for me is when he starts to get into rage mode and start writing emails, right? And that's where I really felt the character came alive, because this is a very specific character. It's about educated Singaporeans who speak English in a slightly different way. They are brought up differently, right? You can't deny there is a certain sense of entitlement that goes along with how much they accomplish as well, right? Also not fully entitled, because you do see his hesitation to write those emails, right? It was like a last resort to that, right? But then the email, if you are on the receiving end of the emails, you'll be like, basket, this principle of mine, why so entitled? So I'm glad they did show the whole process in showing that. When I saw that, right, after that, right, I messaged my colleague, right, Michael Kam, right, who we teach together, and I tell him, right, having saw this film, right, it made me understand more about entitled students, right?
Or entitled parents.
Emails asking about their grades, and then their I don't know, certain things about the course in very unreasonable ways. How come I only scored this certain mark, that kind of thing. Yeah. And then I was like, I kind of get it now. Yeah. There are some scenes that didn't quite sit well with me. Like a lot of the lawyer scenes, I didn't think the lawyers they performed those exposition that well. So it's like, for example, we talk about Evil Does Not Exist, two different kind of films, right? But here it felt like they should have workshopped those scenes a little bit more when they were talking about why a certain loophole in the excavation, that kind of thing. Yeah, I felt like, this scene just finished like that, So I think there were a few moments there. There are some moments with great tension though, especially when the cousins, the second generation, the kids are talking, at a restaurant and all that. There are moments where they brought in the excavation crane, the tractor into the house, which was quite impressive as well. It's like, how do you even bring that into the house? It's like, wow, crap, you have to like engage the foreign workers, whoever their foreman is. It's like, hey, can we borrow your people here and your equipment into this compound here just to shoot that scene? So I thought that was quite impressive also. Yeah, cinematography-wise, I beg to differ. For me, I felt it was a bit underwhelming. I guess I preferred to see something with more contrast and more stylish touch to it. Yeah. Not saying that it might suit the film, but I just wanted to see it, because it's like, wow, you see the house is like that. It's like, it wouldn't kill to just light it a bit more, put a bit more shadows to the face. Yeah.
Okay, John, can I ask you, do you like Winter Sleep?
I'm sorry, I didn't watch Winter Sleep before.
Okay.
Yeah,
I've
not. But I watched my fair share of Bergman dramas. I do feel that while it is reminiscent in terms of the chamber scope of it, maybe it's a time thing as well. I personally am not sure that you can do that kind of Bergman-esque chamber dramas in this day and age as well. There's something about the spark in that. It's just the sound, the texture of those films, right? On paper, you can try to like reference those films, but quite hard to recreate. If you are talking about, say, Wild Strawberries and like films like what's the one, Through the Looking Glass, is it? Yeah.
This film in particular, the way it's shot is more like scenes from a marriage, and Yeah. And
Did he-
I think, sorry?
Was it shot by Hide?
Yeah, it
Yes.
was. Yeah. And it was the colorist is Sarah Class, who is like a really
Yeah.
like up there
Up
colorist.
there.
Yeah, so
Did she color like, who's that lady's film? Ani's Vara film? I remember, no, right? Or did I remember correctly?
did she color? Yeah,
Let me
but
see.
I don't know who's European filmmakers.
She came to Singapore. I attended a talk before.
Right.
Oh yeah, she colored Birds of Passage,
Yeah, man.
which is that incredible like Mexican film.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but I would say that it's a very gutsy film to make, because firstly, the whole film is in English, and
Yeah.
it's really, really hard for a full English film to travel. It's really hard for people overseas to get it. But for the same reason, I think it is very Singaporean. Yeah, that I can't deny. This specific character, the specificity of the character is like you've seen somebody like that as well. You probably don't interact with such characters more, but you go to some restaurants from a periphery, you see in a corner, right? You definitely will have seen someone like this principal in the film.
Yeah. But even though his character is from that like upper echelon of our social economic pyramid, but the emotions that he reflect on his face, I think it's universal to all Singaporeans. Yeah.
Correct.
And I think this film is really his film, like Victor Banerjee's film.
I thought he gave the strongest performance.
Oh, he's so good, man.
Yeah,
He is so good.
He's much better than the lady that plays the wife.
Right.
Son was good also. Brendan Fernandez. Who plays the son.
Yeah. I mean, Victor is so good that when you watch him, right, it's not just the face, right? When the way he walks, like down the stairs, you can just feel like the entire tension in his body.
Yeah.
And the little detail of his shaking hand and all that all adds to that character.
Yeah, he's a very seasoned actor. Like if you look at his IMDb, he was in High Life, Claire Denis' High Life. He was in like Passage to India, those kind of classic films, and a lot of Bollywood films. Yeah, I thought it was a good casting choice to cast him.
Yeah, I mean, I love this film, man. I hope I'm pretty sure it will get a release, at least a limited release.
Hopefully.
All right, let's move on to another Vietnamese film. I think it's pronounced Li Never Cries. Yeah, Li Never Cries. And initially, I thought Li is a human character, but it turns out it's an animal character. I think it's some squirrel-like animal, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Did both of you watch the film?
Yes.
Ivan, did you? Okay. Maybe Ivan. Yeah. Let's hear you describe the film.
Oh,
Ivan, maybe but if you want, I can help to describe.
Yeah, I'm a bit brain dead.
Li Never Cries, right? It's about. I'm struggling to describe who's the main character, but it's about
it's a young kid, right?
Yeah, that's kind of two stories. One is this girl, right? She's kind of like, okay. It's this. Firstly, there's this
mother-daughter relationship.
Yeah, this lady who's the auntie, right, and auntie of this girl, right. They stay together. She kind of brought her up, right, in Vietnam, and they run this like daycare together, right, taking care of
in their own house,
right. So they are kind of at this juncture of their life where the girl is going to be married off already, right, to another guy, right. The guy loves her, but kind of a bit of a young and dumb romance,
Yeah, it's a shotgun marriage because she got pregnant.
Correct. So there's a lot of apprehension with that, kind of like, oh, I brought you up and now you are going to leave already, but at the same time, it's like you can't do anything right as well. So she feels a bit lost because, while she's not daughter, at the same time, there is some sort of kinship. The girl also feels a bit lost as well. It's like, can we sustain this relationship? Yeah, and that's pretty much that's the story of the film to my best memory I can and describe it. Yeah. So I guess I can start off by just saying my thoughts about the film. I think it starts off quite well actually. Yeah, I was quite into the film. But I think it came at a certain point, I felt like he had to decide whether he was trying to tell the story of the young and dumb romance between this couple, right? The shakiness or whatever they are going through. Or this lady's journey, right? Which includes this road trip that she takes to the countryside at the end. So I think it kind of straddles between these two threads, and after a while I felt like it kind of lost perspective. And there were a few I have no idea what the animal has to do in the film. Yeah. Wow. He goes into the bar and then he befriends that guy and that guy goes on the road trip.
Yeah.
I don't buy a single of that. I was like, what kind of friend you will like befriend there and go on a road trip with you, kind of be your son. I felt like, okay, but if the film is about that lady, and pardon my more requirements for more setup, and you kind of develop a bit of more relationship with that guy, then okay, perhaps they can form an union, and then they can go there. Yeah. But having said that, it's still it's still rather easy to follow. I mean, towards the end, they come back, and then there's the wedding as well. Emotionally, it does get a bit vague at times. There are a few scenes as well. There are a few moments of symbolism here and there, particularly having to do with what do you call it? The urn of ashes that is hilariously kind of replaced with dirt as well. Yeah. So those moments, I do feel that it strives for a certain meaning, right? But I'm not quite sure it had a strong enough effect. Yeah. So that's what I feel about the film.
Ivan?
I enjoyed this film. Yeah, I don't love it super much, but I really enjoyed it, and particularly, I think what I enjoy about it was I like the way the director looks at his characters and spaces. I really enjoyed that. Maybe because I feel like it's not like, if you compare it, say, like Viet and Nam, it's not epic in that kind of scope and ambition. Although I would say that after hearing about its production problems, then I realized maybe it's a film of circumstances as well.
What happened
Because it was
during production?
There were a few start-stops, with COVID being one of them.
Right.
So that's the main thing, yeah. And
I see.
and I don't know if the film was more ambitious in its original design. I did remember reading a synopsis where it actually starts out in Germany, when the husband dies.
Oh wow.
But she comes back. Yeah, so there's that bit, which definitely not in the film, right? Because it starts off with the voiceover and then she's on the boat and all that kind of thing. Yeah, so, but for what was on screen, I just thought that I really enjoyed what he was trying to portray. I love the characters. Yeah, everyone's a bit like on the low key side, but never boring for me. Yeah. So again, it's this like almost going to be very flat, really, like it's really risking it, right? But actually, it's like for me overall, it's really charming. Yeah, I thought the casting choices were all really amazing.
Yep.
I know the old lady is like a veteran. I really love the young girl. She has such a great face. I like the guy as well. Yeah, like when towards the end when he sings at the wedding, it's so moving, it's so, yeah, it's just you can't help but like go with him, right?
Yeah.
So I really, yeah, appreciated it. And actually I liked the cinematography. I thought it was super well controlled, like very consistent, and it's a side of Hanoi and Vietnam that I don't really see. Yeah. Usually if people like set a film in Hanoi, it's, you see a lot of bustling. It's like a lot of people. It's very busy. So it's like a nice, like, alternative vision of Hanoi. Yeah, I mean that's what I liked about it.
Yeah, there are some random parts that I do like lah. Like when the kids take the wedding cake, the figurines and put in the microwave, and when they did the very flop performance
Mm.
to the old folks. Wow, but okay, that part there also, right? There were some moments, it's like, they just had this like really romantic, dreamy like wedding shoot at the ice skating ring.
Yeah.
Quite happy, right? And then like after that, unhappy again. Right? Then totally like went down. This like
Very fun.
horrible performance at the stage there, and then it's like, hey, they're gonna get rashes, that kind. So there were a few moments of this like randomness lah. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the coolie. Yeah, I was like, it's really striking. I don't know what animal is it. Slow loris, is it? Is it called slow loris? I don't know, but I was told that it's found in Vietnam. Yeah, it has such like expressive eyes.
But what do you think is its narrative purpose?
Wow, this one. I
For the
mean,
vibes.
if I'm completely honest, right? Like, I don't usually like analyze films like that. Yeah,
Mm.
but I know that if I start to analyze the title being "Li Never Cries," then when you look at the animal, it always looks like on the verge of crying. So indeed, you know what I mean. Like
Yep.
now, you ask me to start linking. Yeah, but I tend not to read films like that.
Yeah. I think your explanation is the one that makes the most sense.
I think I'm just like trying to put things together, lor. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Sipping?
Yeah, I think, I really have nothing to add. I just found the film really boring. And yeah, I don't know what else to say.
Okay. Great. All right. With that, we'll move on to the fourth film here. Some nights I feel like walking.
Wow, this film.
We saw, yeah.
Okay. Sipping, you want to give the description?
Yeah.
Or,
Let me try to recall. Okay, so based on what I can remember, it's about this group of friends. I think there were 3 or 4 of them. I think 4 of them, right? And they are all. This is a gay drama, I think. So these 4 friends are all like homosexual males, and it's about how they attempt to eke out a living, providing sexual services or just like stealing things here and there. And it to no one's surprise, it takes place predominantly at night. And I think this film, right, was going really well for like the first 20 minutes.
Yep.
The texture of street life, and the relationship and the camaraderie between the friends were also well done. Then what you might call the inciting incident is when one of the friends passed away, and the rest of the film is an attempt by the 3 remaining friends about how they want to deal with his dead body and the whole situation. So they wanted to bring his dead body back to his brother in a nearby, I think in the. And so after things were going really well, I was really enjoying it, to my surprise. But after the friend died, for me, it just went downhill from there. And yeah, maybe John, you can add.
share the same opinion as well. I would say that I enjoy it a little bit more than the 20 minutes.
Okay.
I would say even until the extended moment that they have in the hotel, which is very long.
Right.
Yeah. I could do less with the whole reminiscence and all that. But I was invested. I was invested with this friendship and everything. But the whole street life sequences that you mentioned for the first, especially the first 20 to 30 minutes, those were great. Yeah. And when they have to carry the dead body to go find the brother, I thought, great. Even though this is something we've seen before, I would love to see 4 of these characters go about it as well. At least, with this very seen before storyline, let's see what we can get out of this. But after they went on the bus and it went into dream sequence territory, that's when the film, I just like, So, that because I mean, after that, they still go to the brother and everything. It felt like it went on a tangent, right? Trying to describe certain extended feelings, I would say that, right? It's like, okay, I know this scene is to represent a certain dimension of how this character is feeling. But, hey, your story is still going on, It's like, why you just pause here, and let the smoke, literally smoke and like red light and all that came about. So I felt like the second half had a lot of that as well. The last part of the film, when they were on the way to find the brother, there was one take sequences. Those parts could have been a little bit more disciplined. I felt like it kind of indulged a little bit on the set pieces, when they kind of momentarily step upon to this like queer bar, right? And then
like some party that was
going on, and then they find their way at the beach. And then after that, the bonfire scene at the end as well, like I thought was strong, but the shots should have cut a little bit earlier here and there. So I guess what I wanted to see is a much more disciplinedly told story, right? But I think it went off tangent a few times at the end. I feel like you can still, if not tell a stronger story of what you are trying to tell, right? Emotionally, without going into the dream stuff. I felt that the dream stuff, the thing about films going into surrealistic territory, you don't just like take your paintbrush and swipe it across it. It has to, your story has to push you towards there, and it will find your way. Okay, I think Viet and Nam does have that without having to put red light and all that, right? But here it kind of forces the dream stuff onto the film a little bit. So I think that kind of, that I wasn't too big of a fan of.
Ivan?
Yeah, I mean, I share very similar sentiments with both of you. I thought the first half, or more than half, was worked really well. I started to feel a bit worried when they said they need to bring the friend back, because then I knew it was going to turn into a road movie. And from and I've seen I've seen quite a lot of films of late with road movie elements, and it just becomes a bit like, you kind of like few are well done. And I'm not really sure why. I'm also trying to figure out why it doesn't quite work. And I also, as you are talking, I was also thinking, could it be maybe like, like young filmmakers, like where we transition from short films to feature films, it's like suddenly from 10 pages become 90 pages. And everyone knows you need some kind of journey. And I wonder now if like the road movie becomes some kind of, we fall into that because it gives you a impression you can have a journey in the film, but maybe a feature film needs more than that to sustain. Yeah. So the minute like they said we're gonna bring the body back to the day, I was like, oh my gosh, it's gonna be like minutes of things like So and then I think that you already as an audience I'm put on guard, right? And one of the things that happened was what John was saying, the surrealistic thing, which I thought really hurt the film, but I could still go with it. Yeah. But I thought the film really I felt disconnected with the film when they started doing the long takes. That was when I was a bit puzzled. But I found out later on that during the Q&A that they had to shoot the last, so-called the bits which we have been talking about that didn't quite work so well for us. They had to shoot it in very, very few days. Yeah, they had 3 days or 4 days to complete all of that. So the long take was a solution to that kind of situation.
I see.
That was what was disclosed in the Q&A. Yeah. So
Well,
unfortunate.
But I mean, the climax of the film should have been the final encounter with the priest brother, right, or the bishop brother, and the road trip is leading up to that climax. What will the brother say when he realizes his brother is dead? To do that in a long take, I think it really fails to recognize that the importance of that moment. Because the film is leading up to that, right? You need to have something impactful, right? If not, this whole journey that you brought the audience along is a waste of time, right? It's a waste.
Yeah, it's not even the fact that it's a long take. It's the fact that it's a long take, right? And if you remember, right, they are in the foreground and the brother is in the background, right?
Yeah.
And he just like, hey, I don't want anything to do with him. And then the camera just move away. And it punch him and then it just kind of goes away.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, that's our take on Some Nights I Feel Like Walking. Right.
Yeah, I mean, well, because I was just imagining this would have been a so much better film if they don't go on that road trip, and instead maybe the brother is just maybe his church is a few streets away from where his younger brother is, and instead of spending time on the road where nothing narratively important is happening,
right,
they get to have some shooting days left enough to go and shoot the real important scenes with the brother and try to excavate something that is narratively more important to show the audience, rather than taking this merry-go-round through this party, then don't know what. Yeah.
Could be something.
Yeah. I think, Ivan, your comment on road trips is, I was just thinking about that and trying to see if I can make sense of this. I think it's because, right, for young filmmakers, the idea of a road trip is, you think in your head, it's going to be so cinematic because you get to go from place A to B to C to D, and you get to show these different locations, and your film is going to have like this variety of images, and it's going to look damn nice. And as you mentioned, what's really important is not the physical journey on the road, but the narrative journey, right? Like everything needs to lead up to some point. At least that's how I think about it. Yeah, like the great. No,
as in, I don't know. I haven't really figured out, but all I can say is like, and maybe it's a taste thing. Like even when there's like there's a suggestion that the story is heading towards the road movie, like a road trip, and I start getting a bit. I don't know why. Like my system just starts to shut down a bit. Even for Viet and Nam, I was like, all right, we're going to the north. It's not, but because of the structure, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, let's go and take a bus, then let's take a and let's get to the north, and then let's yeah, I feel like, I don't know, it could just be a taste thing. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm like, yeah, road movies is interesting. Yeah.
What are your favorite road movies? And why are they your favorites?
Mine?
Yeah, yours.
I'm trying to think actually, so maybe I just don't like road movies. Yeah. I cannot think of one. I
How
was
about
thinking, is Before Sunrise a road movie
I think so.
around Vienna? I don't know, I like that, but
Hmm.
I mean one famous road movie that most people like is Alfonso Cuarón's like what's that Mexican? Something Mama También.
yeah,
Like,
that one is fantastic.
I
Yeah,
like that a lot.
that one is fantastic.
Why do the both of you like that though?
I think I read a review somewhere that says that. Sorry, I'll just give you a moment. I think I read a review somewhere that says how they are so caught up with their own things, right? That they totally didn't care about all the turmoil that is happening on the road. I think it was Darryl's review on Letterboxd. He said about that. And every time they are going through, and there's a narrative purpose you can see, and it's all these political things that are happening there. And I thought he summed it up really well. And just all the drama that's happening on the road is really good. It's just that good. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of what make road movie works is just the little character interactions that happens along the way. And maybe the road movie doesn't need to have a big like Hollywood kind of dramatic arc.
Yeah.
I think something like Nomadland.
Yeah.
Or like I think Green Book is a very good classic screenplay about
right.
the track structure on the road, right?
Yeah.
But not all great movies need to be like that, lah. Like a great road movie can be like Nomadland, or can be something like What else? What else is there? I can't really think of.
If you watch like
Drive My Car, is Drive My Car a road movie?
There's a car.
There's a car lah. I was just say there's a car lah. It's kind of like Paris. It's kind of like Paris, Texas. There's a car. There's a road, but he doesn't really travel. He just there's a huge desert landscape lah. But at least in the Cities by Wim Wenders, it's a very good road movie.
Wow. Yeah.
Not much of a story, to be honest, but you get this German filmmaker's his insatiable curiosity about the Americana and
yeah.
And I don't know lah. It's very. I also kind of doubt that you can do that now as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that film, Alice in the City, I think Wim Wenders had this like anthropological interest in like Middle America.
Anthropological, photographic.
Which film is this?
Alice in the Cities. Yeah. Black and white.
I actually didn't like Paris, Texas.
Huh.
I just don't like road movies, maybe. Yeah, but I do.
How can you not like Paris, Texas?
Yeah.
What?
Itu Mama Tambien I like very much. Paris, Texas is not my cup of tea. Yeah.
Paris, Texas also another film that cannot. I also don't know how you make it now without being too pretentious or what. Yeah, but it's really one of my favorites.
Yes, okay.
I love that film. Okay, from Paris, Texas, let us move on to our next film without trying to be intentionally funny. Orang Ikan.
Our creature feature masterpiece by Mike Willowan.
Okay. So I'll try to explain this story. So this film takes place in like the tail end of World War II, Japanese occupation. Is it of where? I don't even know. It's Singapore, right? Is it Singapore?
I don't know, to be honest.
Yeah. All we know that it starts off in a ship, and there are a lot of British POWs in there. And then there's the main character is a Japanese renegade soldier that maybe disagree with their methods, and he is also in the midst of being imprisonment, questioned by his chief.
Yeah, basically, he kind of committed treason and betrayed his superior, and I think he killed his lieutenant, right?
I can't remember. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he killed his lieutenant, and he is now under arrest and handcuffed to a fellow British POW.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, ship is attacked. Everyone dies except that one British soldier and
Yeah,
our Japanese hero. So both of them find themselves stranded in the island, and they have nobody but themselves, each other to trust. And that is our creature, orang ikan, that is lurking in the water, trying to attack them, and very quickly already starts the first assault on them. Right, they manage to evade that. Right, okay, now they have to find ways to kind of cut off the, what do you call that, their shackles. Right, they have cooking sessions together, and then
bonding sessions.
And the whole film is just them trying to escape orang ikan and eventually trying to demolish orang ikan around this very extinct island. That's the film. That's orang ikan.
Yeah. Okay, to be honest, while the film is not great by any stretch of the imagination, it was a very fun watch.
Yeah,
especially after coming from Viet and Nam.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed myself.
What are the parts of the film that you enjoyed?
I think I just really appreciated the fact that Mike, the director, introduced the creature in like less than, I don't know, 15 minutes of the film. I was expecting like a slow setup, like maybe like you see a hand here, then you see his jaw or something, then you see it's like I was expecting like the host, Bong Joon-ho, the host kind of setup, where you see a bit here, a bit there before finally reviewing the whole monster. But in Orang Ikan, you more or less see the whole creature in like 15-20 minutes, right?
Right.
Yeah, I was caught like by surprise, like in a good way. I was like, oh damn, this is gonna be crazy.
Right. Yeah. I think that there were some impressive action scenes here and there. There's a part where they have to shoot the alien. Sorry, I say alien because it looks like a scene from Alien. He has to shoot the offspring, right? That in the cave, the orang ikan, which is like in this kind of like webbed embryo stuck to the cave. I thought that scene was pretty cool. Is the craft of it.
Think of it as a low budget Predator set in a tropical island.
Correct. The editor Lim Yen, who we spoke with about the film, he said the reference was 300 by Zack Snyder. So that really showed as well. The ending sequence.
I think the action sequences were inspired by 300.
The action sequence, which as we talk about it, is the final fight between the Japanese guy with a samurai sword with the monster. So those sequences were quite well, right? You do feel that there's action scenes that are well choreographed and all that. Which brings us to the point of certain action scenes that we were more underwhelmed. For example, the earlier action scenes and the earlier fight scenes at the beach as well. It just felt a little bit messily choreographed, right? It felt like it was shot in a rush. I would say that, and perhaps spend more time in performances and the minute moments between the two, because I think from the start you know that this is a movie already, and from the costume to the performances of both of them, they don't try to be in the character. They don't shy away from that. They are like, hey, we are British guy, we are Japanese guy acting as World War II soldiers. So let's talk like them, let's smoke like them. So it never quite break off from that lah. And it can't help but to think that what if those things were, like more well.
Yeah, I in fact I only wish, right, they were less cringy.
Yeah.
in terms of both the interaction between the Japanese guy and the British guy, and also I just found it a bit too much when the orangutan keeps screaming into the forest like King Kong.
Yeah. Whenever he screams, right, it cuts to an extreme wide shot where he's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you do it 2-3 times, I still can buy it, but he was like King Kong for I don't know how many times then.
yeah.
It got a bit too much. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's our take on Orang Ikan. Not sure whether it will have a cinematic release, but I feel it might make its way to streaming services. Feels like a film for Amazon or something.
Yeah, I think it has that like straight to streaming kind of B movie vibe.
It does make me curious to seek out the film that they say is inspired by what is that? A Creature of the Black Lagoon.
Creature from the Black Lagoon. Yeah, that's a classic. Right?
So I am interested to watch that.